逃亡は禁じられています。自殺は禁じられています。労働を拒否することは禁じられています。横になっての睡眠は禁じられています。未来を語ることは禁じられています。
No talking. No smoking. No littering. No red meat. No freedom of religion. And remember, all marriages must be approved by the Department of Health. Failure to obey these rules will result in immediate loss of citizenship and deportation to the island of Los Angeles.
Your rules are really beginning to annoy me.
The creation of any successful intellectual property or character is bound to create spin-offs. Whether these are proper sequels or imitations, one can always count on eventually taking the host creation into a new location or setting. We can see this in such artistic and literary masterpieces as Medea Goes to Prison, Ernest Goes to Camp, and Jason Goes to Hell. Okay, so maybe I'm being a little silly here, but the point is that you can inject new life into an established idea or IP by placing it in a new setting. And such is the case for today's review of Freedom Wars for the PS Vita, or as I like to call it, Monster Hunter Goes to Prison. The Japanese obsession with hunting and grinding games is no small phenomenon, thanks to Monster Hunter and its many follow-ups. And Freedom Wars follows well in these footsteps. You fight giant monsters, you grind for materials, it's multiplayer, and it's mobile. In fact, this sort of game was made for the Japanese market, with each of the 47 prefectures competing on leaderboards, though this was changed to major cities for the worldwide release. Despite the similarities, however, Freedom Wars features some great new ideas, not the least of which is its setting. Freedom Wars' setting is fantastic. It's like they took the Hunger Games and brought it to an almost satirical level. In this post-apocalyptic world, the planet has been drained of almost all resources, meaning the act of living is a punishable offense. Congratulations on being alive, that's an automatic million-year prison sentence. Here, humankind has retreated to the safety of giant multi-million populated panopticons, which purport to be the safest and best way for mankind to live happily and make the best use of limited resources available. In reality, they're just giant prisons. Yes, except for a small, ambiguous colony of privileged that live somewhere on high, all of the world lives in giant prisons where they must work off their life sentences, mostly by protecting themselves from resource raids by other panopticons. Starting the game, your personal avatar is immediately struck with an amnesia-inducing blow. Kind of a trope, sure, but an acceptable enough way to create your own character from scratch and start from the ground level. That'll be a cold hard reset back to 1 million years, sinner. Not only that, but you immediately find out that everything carries a prison penalty. Walk more than 5 steps? Penalty. Lie down? That's a penalty. Talk to others? Penalty. Just about anything? Penalty. Thankfully, though, taking part in battles to reduce your sentence also grants you entitlement points, which slowly allow you more privileges and allow the game to play more like a traditional RPG. Hub, story, battle, repeat. And while this may be prison, at least this is anime prison. You'll get your style on with the best K-pop outfits and NPCs this side of the jailhouse runway, and as you progress, you'll be allowed to update your hot looks and slunk around with the best of them. Seriously though, this is a creative and darkly hilarious world they created, I can't stress that enough. The real meat of the game, however, is of course the battle. With rival panopticons raiding each other for resources and high-value citizens, you'll have to wade into battle with your fellow sinners against rival prisoners and, of course, giant mechanical monsters known as abductors, the primary enemies of the game. These hulking monstrosities pack massive power and even greater hit points, making each battle to down them an affair in itself. And while you certainly have plenty of firepower in the form of firearms, launchers, and giant melee swords that would make even Cloud blush, your coolest and most versatile weapon is the Thorn. The Thorn is a unique grapple that not only allows you to traverse the environment, but allows you to mount up on abductors Attack on Titan style, or hook them and drag them down. By mounting up, you not only remove yourself from an abductor's forward firepower, but you can use melee weapons to slice away specific components of the monster. So if those rockets or lasers are chewing up your team, you can begin the fight by slicing away at those weapons and turn the tide in your favor. Standard weapons can of course still be used, and while it may not be as effective, it's completely workable. From the ground, you can use the Thorn to grapple an abductor's legs and send it crashing down, giving you a few precious seconds of free hits or recovery time. On your own, these drag downs can take a while, but thankfully your teammates will occasionally initiate their own grapples or team up with you. When it all comes together, the battle system is awesome. Few things are as satisfying as slowly tearing apart an abductor piece by piece, seeing your team of modern-day Argonauts work together to fell these titans. Now, in addition to battling abductors, you'll enjoy some variety in the form of team deathmatch, stealth, and even control point missions, but one overarching element throughout the gameplay is the reclamation of citizens. Higher in standing than sinners, these genetically modified scientists are prime targets for rival panopticons as they maintain the technological development in the game world. As such, you'll always be rescuing citizens from abductors or rival sinners and returning them to reclamation units. As a huge pro tip to anyone playing this for the first time, I found that rescue missions are much easier if you set your team to retrieve the citizens while you fend off enemies. Trying to rescue them yourself one by one is usually a losing proposition. Completing missions will progress you through the story, which, unlike the setting, which is awesome, is a mixed bag. You begin working with one of the only citizens who actually appreciates your working to save them, and begin searching for a citizen from on high, who you find hidden away in the depths of the Panopticon. Oh, look, it's the sweet magical girl who is the key to some cataclysmic event. You then meet another citizen from on high looking for her, all the while you continue to have visions from Limbo about a great transformation. A rival Panopticon declares war on yours, and it all culminates in a generic Sephiroth ripoff who wants to use sweet magical girl to destroy the world. You finally reach Limbo, where nothing being led up to is resolved, and the cliffhanger ending sees you teaming up against the evil colony on high. Honestly, I'm glad there is a story here, but the ending, or lack thereof, is so disappointing. You have some great mysteries set up in who's contacting you from Limbo, what is the on-high colony, and what is this great transformation, but everything ends without being resolved. A cliffhanger is fine if at least some mysteries are solved, but all you do is stop a giant boss abductor, and that's it. Even the storytelling itself is inconsistent. Some cutscenes are choreographed and dynamic, but mostly it's standing one-shots with walls of text. I realize the developers suggested a sequel would be possible if the original sold well enough, but you need to account for the possibility it doesn't and at least answer some questions. At least the game has a trick up its sleeve, however, and this is the grinding element. After progressing through several code levels, chapters really, you are given access to manufacturing facilities. Like Monster Hunter, fighting certain monsters, in this case abductors, and replaying certain missions with a high enough rank rewards you with materials which you can use to upgrade your weapons and forge consumables. Though about 2/3 of the story you can probably get away with what you salvage from the field or your enemies, by the endgame, and especially post-game, you will need to start forging yourself more powerful weapons. It follows the usual formula. Forge more powerful weapons to take on more difficult missions to get better materials to forge more powerful weapons, and repeat. Add to this the fact that you can team up in multiplayer, compete on the aforementioned leaderboards, or work off your million-year prison sentence, and Freedom Wars has plenty of post-story value for grind players. Just know that even if you focus on the story alone, you'll still want to grab an online guide to forge you some endgame weapons. Those last few fights are hard. From an audiovisual standpoint, this game is great. Character models look straight out of anime and are well animated. The environments look nice and have great draw distance, and the abductors have cool detail and tower over you. Add to this your entire team on screen battling sometimes multiple abductors with a generally solid frame rate, and this is a game that can really show off the Vita's power. In fact, this game is whitelisted for the Vita TV, and I can personally say that this looks great, even on the big screen. There could have been a few more mission arenas, true, and the prison hub can look pretty bland, but in fairness, well, it's a prison. Sound effects are very well done, and the game has a great soundtrack. I'm not trying to gush, it's just awesome to see a studio make full use of the Vita hardware, which just wasn't given the chance it deserved. Control-wise, the game plays really well. No gimmicky touch controls are needed, both control sticks are put to use. Just be sure to switch from the default control scheme if you don't want to contort your fingers with ranged weapons. Now, there are a few gameplay nitpicks, mostly in the form of friendly AI. Your teammates are generally very good in combat, but when more than one abductor is present, they sometimes get overwhelmed. They either focus entirely on one, or they split up, which would be fine, but then they won't be able to revive each other as quickly as they are downed, meaning you'll be left without backup, and trust me, getting stun-locked by multiple abductors is the quickest way to lose a mission. Also, outside of a few stealth missions, you are constantly accompanied by your robotic ward, or accessory as the game calls them, and while they provide a valuable ally in combat, if they are downed for any length of time in battle, they run the risk of being abducted. Don't worry, you're always provided a generic replacement if needed, and your original can always be rescued, but this becomes such a hassle that I eventually stopped stressing over it and just let the enemy have them. Your replacement can't be given orders to rescue citizens or anything, but they will revive you, which is the most important thing. All in all, though, Freedom Wars is a great game and certainly an underappreciated gem. Like the PS Vita itself, this is a very impressive experience that never got the exposure it deserved. It created an awesome game world that unfortunately may never be fully realized or resolved. The combat is fantastic, taking some cool ideas from Monster Hunter and Attack on Titan, and you have a great antagonist in the form of On High, an immensely powerful and oppressive colony which raids the helpless panopticons below. It's a shame we may never see more from the world of Freedom Wars, but I'm glad I got to enjoy what was there. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to like or watch some of my other videos. And hey, I'm probably going to be mixing things up by changing my just the gameplay videos to more creative bonus segments, so be sure to stay tuned. No matter what though, I appreciate each and every one of you, and whenever things get difficult, be sure to keep going. You are worth it.